Welcome to Talk Commerce. I'm Isaac Maury. Today we'll be hearing from Jacqueline Basulto, the founder and CEO of SeedX. Her agency has been helping brands grow for nearly a decade. And today, Jacqueline shares her journey from a Google internship to founding her own agency to building a team that focuses on holistic growth strategy. She also talks about where AI fits into marketing today. What stood out to me the most was her point about customer education. When people understand why a product matters and how to use it, brands are really in the driver's seat and they're in a much better position to make conversions. So let's get into the conversation with Brent and Jacqueline.
Welcome to this episode of Talk Commerce. Today I have Jacqueline Basulto. No, I knew I was going to I wasn't going to go for the name. I apologize. She is the founder, CEO of SeedX. Go ahead, tell us your first and last name with your last, and you even phonetically put your last name in the show notes, and I should have gotten that, but I choked at the last minute. Tell us
Was
your
a
name.
a great try, Brent. Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is
Tell
Jacqueline Basulto, and yes, I'm the founder of SeedX. We're a team of 65 people now, founded in 2016. We are a growth marketing company, so we help companies scale their growth systems by providing end-to-end support from web design to paid ads, CRM and email marketing, everything that can kind of be a digital touch point and help them really understand the engineering of how do you guide someone from a first touch point to becoming a customer, a long-term advocate for you and beyond, and make that process repeatable, scalable, and profitable. So that's a little bit about us and what we do today. But of course, my journey as a founder has been full of lots of interesting moments to get to where we are now.
And what about passions outside of work? What do you like to do?
I love animals. I have 3 dogs, and or I would love to have a little farm one day. Singer, so I love music. Those are my 2 big ones. And then I try to be an active, healthy human and get some exercise in as well, whilst being an entrepreneur and the mom of a 3-year-old. So it's a busy life.
Yeah, I can totally imagine. All right, Jacqueline. Uh, so before we get started, you had volunteered to be part of the Free Joke Project. I'm just going to tell you a joke, and you just give me a rating 8 through 13. So here we go. I heard the more colorful your salad is, the better it is for you. So I replaced all my croutons with M's.
Okay, I'll go for an 11.
All right, thanks. I didn't say they were funny. I just said they were a joke. All
I
right,
like
so tell give us a little bit of your journey to SeedX, and even tell us a little bit where the name comes from.
that's that's a great question. Um, I I always joke that entrepreneurship kind of found me. I didn't know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I started SeedX at a really young age. I was around 22, and it really came from my creative and rebellious, or when you're young, you're kind of just ignorant of what you don't know, right? And so I had an internship at Google where I was working with small businesses who needed help with marketing strategy. And I was frustrated really by the way that other agencies and that Google was helping them because it was very verticalized. So, they would help a business with SEO or just paid ads and not look at the holistic marketing or growth strategy, the business financials, etc. And so, me being brave and again ignorant, I thought, oh, I can just do this myself. So that kind of kicked off what was first Jacqueline's Web Studio, which was just me freelancing with small clients, and has turned into SeedX today. And so it really was just me not having much money at all, living in New York City, 21 or 22, slowly working with yoga teachers, really small businesses, and then eventually starting to work with somewhat larger companies, needing to hire people to help me, and then realizing how much fulfillment I found in the creative process of entrepreneurship. That's when I learned what entrepreneurship was, and that what I was doing was called bootstrapping, which people always ask me, how did you bootstrap? And the answer is, I didn't know. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And when I feel really grateful that I did this at a really young age too, because I was used to not having a salary. I was used to, living really by low means. And so that kind of started the journey. And then it really became a concerted effort when we named ourselves SeedX. And you asked what the name means. And seed, it's basically like the seed of a plant, how something starts and ends up growing, hopefully, right? And then X means technology. Little did I know at the time, SpaceX was also becoming quite popular. So I did not copy that, but that's how we got our name.
Awesome. Elon copied you, obviously.
Yes.
So it sounds like you got your start by really finding a niche and getting and diving into it. Is that kind of still the philosophy? Do you focus on any one area, or do you kind of broadly go after marketing in general?
So we still have the same philosophy to date. I think we've just, of course, become so much better at it because it started with just me. And now we have people in all areas of marketing and all channels who are highly skilled at those specific areas. But it's proved to be a really lasting and sticky concept or practice because I find that especially with the rise of AI and the way that platforms are changing, the human input of the overall strategy and how all of the pieces go together is more important than ever than like the very specific kind of tweaking of an ad, for example. That's done now by Facebook, by different platforms, those kind of more kind of routine tasks that I think marketing agencies used to do in silos before. And so now the strategy piece and the understanding of how this activity meets the bottom line of the company is more important than ever. And so I think that it really helps us endure a lot with our clients because we're always tying our our work back to the bottom line, back to growth, and not being stuck in one specific channel or one specific way of approaching marketing, if that makes any sense. So I'm glad we started it this way. It was definitely a harder business to grow because there's so much in the scope of what we can do capabilities wise. So it was hard to hire and things like that. Now I think we're in a really good place because we can be such a comprehensive partner for people.
But what do you see as the biggest mistakes that not new companies that are doing marketing, but a medium-sized company? And I have my thoughts on what their biggest mistakes are, but what do you see that companies do that you're just like, you should, not that you should say should, but what are they not doing in general? Or what aren't they looking at in terms of growth marketing?
There's so many different things, but I think like to get back to what I think is really important above all is how do your marketing activities tie back to the company financials? And do you have a really clear understanding of that? Because I often find when we start working with a smaller, mid-size, or even a larger company, honestly, there's a lack of clarity as to what their North Star KPI or metric should be. So they're looking at results in Meta, they're looking at results over here, like basically in a bunch of different places, right? But they're not factoring in, well, when I look at revenue at the end of the day and I look at Meta, how are these costs making sense together? So do you understand, especially for e-commerce, do you understand how your customer acquisition cost relates to your cost of goods and your cost of operating and your ad spend? And does that all make sense? Because once you can align those metrics and really understand how to be profitable and then you can go beyond that, right? Like, do you want to be profitable on the first order? Do you want to be profitable net 90? Like, there's a bunch of different ways to think about it. But if you are able to, most people are not even thinking about that. Like, can I be profitable net 90, right? So if you're having that discussion where you actually understand your numbers really well, then you're really far ahead of the game, because now you can make really conscious decisions about how quickly you want to grow. And maybe you don't want to grow, you know, in an out of control way, or maybe you have an inventory issue and you need to calculate that into the mix. Looking at those numbers holistically, I think it is super important and a superpower, because now you are in control of your growth and you're not just what I think a lot of business owners do, including myself in the past, is like, well, hopefully this month turns out well. It feels good, right? So yeah, that's what I would say is like the number one most important thing.
Does that, well, I could tell you my answer. My answer is always
Sure,
that a lot of
please.
people don't measure. They just don't even bother to
Yeah,
measure,
they
and they
don't.
just kind of do it by the gut, right? And I think that that is always a um, not a point of failure, but if you don't know what you're going to track, you don't know how to. You need to define success, right? Is that kind of would you agree that maybe that's the best place to start, is defining what you'd like to see in success? Or do you tell us some methodologies that you use?
Sure. Yes, of course. Uh, that's super important. And then if you have a team, does everyone define success the same way? Because there are times where we come into work with a client and the CEO and the marketing director have two different definitions of what success looks like. And a big actually running accounts and doing marketing activity can be somewhat easier than trying to get people to agree on what success looks like. And once you agree on what success looks like, and like I was saying, that's like, how soon do you want to be profitable? How much do you want to reinvest? What's the direction of the company? That gives us the ability to reverse engineer and figure out those numbers that I was talking about with context to get you to whatever that ideal goal looks like.
It's Isaac here again. Quick break from the show to share a really exciting announcement. We are now official HubSpot partners. So, Content Basis, the agency that Brent and I run together, is now available to help you with all your HubSpot challenges, from email campaigns and marketing automations to your content pipeline, or even just reviewing what you're doing and identifying new opportunities. If you use HubSpot and you're looking to improve, Brent and I would love to help you out. You can find more information in the description. Just follow the link to get more info, find out how to get in touch, and even access a special offer. Thanks so much. We hope to hear from you. Now, back to the show.
What do you see as, so we're heavily involved in the e-commerce space for clients. Is there anything that e-commerce people should look at to start, or where would you start with an e-commerce client? Let's just say they have no marketing at all and they have a great product and they want to market. Is that like too broad of a question, or is there a place where you start and then you go through a workshop?
Yeah, I think that um, there's typically three core initial places to start that I would consider, that I usually, if we're working with a newer company, we would think about, or that I would give as advice. And one is, first of all, your website is your storefront and it's your salesperson, right? And it's what you're going to send any marketing activity to. So I think, like, even if you can't have the fanciest website on the planet, what you want is to make sure that people are educated about the great products that you have. For example, there's one company that we've worked with for a while that we started working with when they really didn't have much of an e-commerce presence. They're a Manuka honey company, and Manuka honey is this incredible product. It's like a superfood, as they say. It has antibacterial, antiviral, all of these different great effects. And their website lacked that information of like what are all the different ways people use Manuka honey? Why is it so expensive? What does the taste like? How do you know if if Manuka honey is real, or what the potency is compared to other Manuka honeys, right? And so first I would say, like, the most important thing is that your audience understands why they want to purchase your product. You don't just want a picture of a beautiful hair shampoo. It's like, great, I've seen a lot of hair shampoos. Why this one, right? So that's the most important thing. And then I think the two quickest, which is important for people who are starting out because we need to see a return quickly, the two quickest, like the 1-2 punch for growth, is paid ads and email marketing. So paid ads, because they convert quickly, and you can start to drive people to purchase. You can start to understand what messages work. And then I think email marketing is just as important, because for every 10 people that you drive to your website, if one person purchases, then you want to try to get some of those other people to sign up for your email newsletter so that you can continue to educate them about your product and hopefully convert them later on. So those are the three things I would focus on to start. And I think something I would warn against is, I see a lot of like new founders spending so much time on social media, like organic social media, and it's so hard to grow on those platforms now. Not that you shouldn't put work in there, but it's just not going to be as reliable or kind of formulaic in the way that ads are repeatable for you as well.
One of the things that we had talked about in the green room is AI, and AI is such a buzzword, but it can really help elevate a team, right? And the other side of that is, so we have a content business, and a lot of now clients say they don't need people anymore because they could just use AI. Where do you think AI fits into marketing, and do you think humans and AI are dead?
Yes, it's a great question. I think everyone's worried that AI will replace humans. And I think that the way that we see it is as a great support to humans. And so I think, the ideal world is that AI, and I think AI has developed in this way thus far, and hopefully it continues to, but we want AI to take away all of those mundane tasks that we don't want to spend all of our time doing, or that suck the creativity out of us and keep us from doing the important things. So instead of spending 5 hours looking for a data point in analytics, you can just ask a tool, hey, can you find this data point? And you get it really quickly, and you can create mathematical equations to figure out other things from that data point that would have taken a really long time, or that would have been impossible to calculate as a human alone. And so I think when you're thinking about AI, the biggest thing is to not be afraid, just like anything. I think learning how it can support your function is super important. And the same thing from a business owner's perspective. We're thinking a lot about how can AI support our team and make them even more efficient and make their lives better too. So that's what I would suggest to all e-commerce owners and founders in general, and people. I use AI a lot for my personal life, honestly, like to plan trips and help me negotiate with my toddler and all kinds of things.
How's that going with the toddler? Because I think they're about the same age, right? They're just completely unreasonable, both of them. But your toddler doesn't say, "You're absolutely right. I shouldn't have done that."
No, no, I think a toddler is a formidable match for AI.
I want to kind of dig into the human thing, because I think a lot of business owners are thinking they don't need the belief is that it's the automation replaces the person, and then maybe one person can do 10 things or something like that. I don't know. But how are you navigating as a marketing agency with the idea that less people think they need your services, even though they still need them?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where our holistic perspective has been really strong. I've seen a lot of agencies that are very focused on one vertical suffer a lot because people think, oh, I don't need a content writer anymore, or I don't need graphic design anymore because I can have ChatGPT just make me whatever I ask it to. So I think that, and then I think education, like it's always difficult, of course. Clients are, people are also, the people that we work with are also trying to figure out what, can I use AI for to save money on? And how can I, be more productive and reduce costs, of course. So I think like always being a partner that people trust to be honest and to educate them is super important because we're able to counteract thoughts that like, well, I no longer need someone to think about our content because AI can do it, which is like, no, we can use AI as a tool. Maybe it reduces costs a bit, but here's like the real good perspective on that and have a debate about that. And I think being able to have smart conversation and hopefully those people are receptive to it is really important. And to really be able to show how the human strategy piece is so important.
Is there, just switching gears a little bit, do you see a big difference between the business culture in Europe? Or, I mean, I know that it's different in Spain, but in the business culture in Europe and how Europeans are perceiving this as compared to Americans?
Sure. I think there's always a difference culturally. I would say, interestingly, kind of like all policy and perspectives in Europe, there's probably more of a focus around human centricity, right, than technology. Even like, even if you go to European government websites or something, the adoption of technology is a little bit slower in any country. Like we work with some South American clients as well, or companies that have North American and South American presence. And you'll see there's just differences in terms of how far along websites and technology and the expectations. Like I think in the US, we expect all of the brands that we interact with to be super high tech, to give us like constant content versus in Spain and Europe, in South America, it's okay to have less contact with the brand. You still have to call people. You still have to pick up your phone and do a WhatsApp instead of just booking something online, for example. So I think that there's more of an effort to kind of protect people from technology than to just integrate it at all costs.
Yeah, that's good. So, Jacqueline, we have a few minutes left, and as I close out the podcast, I give everybody a chance to do a shameless plug. What would you like to plug today?
Yeah, sure. So I would like to plug, of course, SeedX and our services, but more so for anyone who's thinking about how AI can impact their workflows or their company. We're working on a new product that helps marketers specifically, helps marketers automate their task flows in one centralized location. So this tool essentially allows you to connect your email, your calendar, your CRM, your analytics, all of the things that you're working on so that you have one central agent to talk to. And so I would love to connect with anyone who's interested in learning more about that.
That's great. And how would people give us your contact info? How do
Sure.
people get in touch with you?
Our website is seedx.us, but you can email me directly. My name is Jacqueline, JACQUELINE, at seedx.us, or connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just under my name, Jacqueline Basulto.
Perfect. And I'm going to get your name right this time. Jacqueline Basulto, CEO and founder of SeedX. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Talk Commerce is a production of Content Basis, LLC. For more creative content, go to contentbasis.io.